Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bill Naaman's Bogus Hangout. Uh, it's episode number 155. I'm just surprised by the number. I'm happy we've reached that point. Terry, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody what you're up to?
Terry Van Horn, International Website Builders is my company. I work with David Harry. I founded SEO Dojo and founded SEO Pro's first organization for SEO. What am I doing these days? I'm actually working on another community and thinking of another. Everything went private for a while, and I think it's time there was another open community again. It would be less on SEO topics, so I think.
Did you see that Kim Krausberg announced that she was closing down creative site forums?
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I guess she got tired of being the spam police 24 hours a day.
Yeah. It may be public, but I don't know. There's got to. I'm thinking you don't have to be private, but you can make a process where you can make it so you don't have to worry about spam, I think.
That forum was set up so that links wouldn't work from the forum. They wouldn't pass long page rank.
Oh, really?
Really.
That would discourage a lot of it.
It didn't discourage anything.
Well, that's because people are too stupid to know. But
right. It should have discouraged them. They should have been able to hover over a link and realize the link's backwards. It's not going to go anywhere. Googlebot's not going to count it.
See, you could have also in the past, just used a 302 forwarding system, right? And that didn't pass equity.
Right, but you can't stop stupid.
Oh, well, there's that. I love that saying, by the way.
Yeah.
I think I'll hang that when I go start my next business. I'm just going to hang that above my computer. And every time someone starts saying something like that, I'll just look at it and think of what you said.
I think that in some cases it's not just about link spam, but it's also the word moderation and managing a community can be quite
right.
Sometimes it's not. For instance, like in the forum that I used to administer, we didn't have any link issue. The biggest issue was people coming in and trolling and like breaking every sensible conversation, right?
I'm just thinking of all the people who leave blog spam comments on my website.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a no follow. I've got a no follow plug. I don't have a plugin changing the no follow to do follow. Right? I'm on some lists at some forum somewhere that says I'm do follow blog. So people follow that, come to my blog, leave these bullshit comments, act as if I'm purposefully leaving it open as a place for them to spam, and don't even really thank me and just treat me as if they have an expectation or right to spam.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unfortunately, you can't, like you said.
Can't fix stupid.
You would think that people would, if people really understood, right, that it's all about sustainability. Getting ranking for 2 weeks is a waste of time,
Right.
and money. And the thing is, the more you pay, probably a lot of times it's more risk you're taking on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've always just thought, if it's not sustainable, what's the point?
Right.
That's why I don't follow all the trends in SEO. After doing it this long, I know as soon as someone writes about it, it won't work in a few months.
I wrote a blog post last week about a new continuation patent involving PageRank. And all the comments I received from people asking if Google still uses PageRank.
And it must not, because it's no longer in the toolbar, right?
Right. That's exactly what they're saying.
Oh, God.
Uh-huh. Like I said, you can't fix stupid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, hopefully they weren't calling themselves SEOs.
But you know damn well 70% of them would.
Hopefully they weren't calling themselves SEOs. And that's the issue that, anybody can say that. There's, you can't even really differentiate quality by price.
I think we are moving away from the time links are used to rank web pages. I think that'll happen sometime within the next 10 years.
I think you're probably right, but it'll take another 15 years for people to stop selling links.
I think you're right too.
Here's the thing, right? I hear what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
10 years from now, there's a good chance that what's on a web page won't really matter much. It'll all be voice search and blah, blah, like they won't need links. Because it'll be all about how much is spoken about them.
Links will still work as addresses for web pages.
Oh, for sure. Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
Even discovery of content, right? So
Yeah.
Assuming in 10 years that Google is still letting them go to a web page. There's that too. We all know that's the real end game.
You're thinking AMP 2, eh?
Look, they've been looking at the one-click patents and all that stuff for a long time with Orion. I forget what it's called. And I thought that when they developed their own shopping cart and started offering that would be an issue. Hasn't turned out to be because, it seems with these big tech companies, right? They think if you're not a company doing $150,000 worth of advertising with them, you aren't even worth wasting their time.
I think that like at the same time, like when they are removing like results and not sending people to website, they also force some industry to really push harder on product, right? Obviously, it's not going to be beneficial for like imagine before there used to be 20, 30 sites competing. Probably there will be only one of them who managed to build such a good product that you will go straight to this website rather than searching again. And in the same way now you go to Amazon if you need to shop for retail rather than.
But do you? Aren't people getting to the point where they realize that Amazon doesn't always have the best products or the best prices?
Like probably Amazon is a bad example, but for instance, for Skyscanner, I do. I don't check flights on, like I don't Google flights. I don't. I use sometimes the Google product, but I end up using Skyscanner product. And
I've never heard of Skyscanner.
that's yeah, they did a good job. Yeah.
Okay, never heard of them.
If you look at the numbers that places like Expedia, etc., are doing, destinations, people aren't finding them only through Google. They're also destinations. You know, and that's where Amazon is a shopping destination. And people don't always find what they want on Amazon. Agreed. But I bet you a lot of shopping, right, starts on Amazon. Remember, a lot of people now have a card, right? So Amazon Prime and all that, how many members are there? That ain't a small number, is it?
No, but I do suspect that people are realizing that they're not necessarily getting the best deals.
Yeah,
going
but
through Amazon.
But there is a set of, that's why there are programs like Prime. That's why you already link in your payment methods. You don't need to put your card detail into a new commerce. There's a lot of things they can maybe deliver you faster, right? Probably they won't give you the best price point. Maybe sometimes, obviously, the day they own your experience.
Prime isn't necessarily the bargain it may sound like it is.
It's a shop. It's more about the delivery, promises, and that kind of stuff.
Convenience too.
Yeah,
free delivery starts from the time they ship. 2-day free delivery starts from, if they're shipping a week from now, it's 2 days from a week from now.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Fine print, eh?
Yeah, you gotta pay attention to whether it says in stock or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get the concept, but like, for instance, some of my friends, after they tend to, let's say they have Amazon Prime, they know roughly what's the deal with this shopping from this company, and they're more likely, they're less likely to shop around because of this, right? I'm not saying that they won't. I'm just saying that like there are some kind of thing like built into the service that will make them less likely to shop around. And the day the Google sending traffic, stop sending. I'm not saying that Amazon won't rely on search, right? They have an SEO team. They have a bunch of people who still make sure that like search works. I'm just saying that like the only way if you are a company is to build a product that people will go first eventually, rather than, because there are some verticals that Google could go in fully.
I kind of get what Bill's saying, because back when there wasn't as much competition on the web, you could go to Amazon and it would almost always be the lowest price. And now I get what Bill's saying, that people are realizing that isn't the case. So they may hit Amazon, but they're also going to Google to compare prices. Is that kind of what you're saying, Bill?
It's kind of what I'm saying. It's possible to be small company and to be the more nimble company. The one that sells things for better prices, that offers better service.
Right. I hear that. And that was like, I used to believe that, right? That size didn't really matter on the internet. I don't agree with that so much these days.
I think that also it's very dependent on the country where like you're doing this comparison. Probably there are very good small e-commerce in US that are doing a very good job. There are definitely some in UK as well. But then when you go to some other markets, the competition out there is like miles away from what Amazon could give you, right? So like I understand that right now probably in some more developed markets, the e-commerce space is more competitive and even small player can compete on service price. But like in some other markets, I don't feel.
Not in Europe, right?
like, I don't know. I haven't been living in Italy for a good while now, but I'm pretty confident that still, the average e-commerce experience in Italy is nowhere near like what Amazon could do from day one entering that market, right? Like for a lot of reasons, like deliveries in that market, how the whole postal system works. There's a lot of things, right? But it was more of a broader consideration.
I think
I hear what you're saying, especially I think the expectations in one market are different than the expectations in another.
I think too, people have a tendency. A lot of people will use different sites to price compare, whether they're actually in a brick and mortar store and looking to see how much cheaper or more expensive it may be than, say, Amazon. But I think even people that are just strictly interested in buying something online will still do some price comparison. The problem is human nature says that I think the vast majority of people will do that 2 or 3 times. And if they find fairly consistently that it's either cheaper here or it's cheaper there, then they'll get lazy and they'll stop doing a comparison. And until they get slapped in the face with that finding being false now, they won't change because they're lazy.
There's also some almost like subscription type e-tailers too. Some of the women's shoe boutiques online are like that. You almost get a pair every week or every month or whatever on a schedule, and you can give them back to them, etc.
And I'm not saying I don't shop at Amazon. I think they're trying to do things. They started a Prime Wardrobe program where you can order clothes, try them on, decide if you want to keep them or not, and mail them back if you don't. And I ordered some clothes I'm waiting for next week that I'm going to try and see if I like them. That's something Amazon hasn't done before. So they are trying new things like that. But I'm not finding they always have the lowest prices for things.
I think it depends. Their prices are often lower in some things and often higher in other things, depending upon the sort of product too, I find. Like, for instance, clothing, they're quite often cheaper.
Wow. I can tell you that Amazon, for one of the clients I had, was basically where he dumped stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Because there was no hassles. It was good for him because they were buying volume and they had to keep that volume to get the price down, right? So,
yeah, especially like if a product is just not moving, you picked up a lemon. Well, it's a good place to at least get your cost back. Okay.
Right. And also, you don't want to be selling that crap on your own website.
Right. Exactly. So, I think Amazon has done a phenomenal job in breaking some old barriers. I take my hat off to them for that. But the only thing I buy on Amazon is ebooks. And there's a couple of times that I've wanted a hard copy of a book, I've ordered it from Amazon because there's just no place other than walking into a big bookstore or going into a Barnes and Noble. There's no place comparable for selection and availability. But I buy nothing else from Amazon. I buy very little that has to ship simply because it's a pain in the neck down here. I'd rather wait a week until I have an opportunity to cross the border, go to a store and pick it up myself.
Yeah, see, but that, yeah.
For instance,
I have a system on an e-commerce site where you're just the fact that you're in Mexico and you're using a San Jose web address, my program would have told me, yeah, this guy's actually in Mexico and he's saying he's in San Jose, that would trip a red flag on the order.
Sure. Well, my ship to address would be in San Diego. That's where my address is. But
Oh, sorry.
yeah, but it's not uncommon. When I have tried to have somebody ship something down here, I'll end up having to make a phone call. They want to talk to the bank, double verify my card, the whole bit.
Well, I can tell you, we used to get a lot of bad orders from Mexico.
Yeah. Pregnant silence.
Yeah, really.
Mm-hmm. So we're going around introducing ourselves. It's 20 after, but
Late.
Doc.
Doc Sheldon of Intrinsic Value SEO and Search News Central, and all I've been up to this week is putting out some new quotes and tying up some loose ends on one project, and as usual, playing with and educating myself a little bit more on GDPR, which is less than 3 weeks away. Actually, now we're coming up to 2 weeks away.
Fab.
Hello,
Introduce yourself.
I am Fabrizio from Transferwise. What I've been up to, not much actually. This is the first day back. This weekend I was in Cambridge. It was a lovely weather for like UK at this point in time. So, and now starting the week, not much to say. Hopefully working.
And I've been starting to get prepared for SMAX Advanced. I'm going to speak up in Seattle in July. Yeah, in June. Yeah. I've never been to Seattle before, so that should be interesting.
Do you know yet what you're speaking on?
Spoiler on the topic.
Yes, I do. I'm talking about structured data and using JSON and maybe some tips on how to use structured data effectively to avoid things like duplication.
Be a good one.
Yeah. And it should be an interesting session. I've got some other people with me who are talking about related topics like Mike Garnison and Patrick Stocks.
Cool.
It should be fun. I don't know. Terry, you were talking recently about, or in a recent episode about possibly holding some type of conference in Canada.
Yeah, I'm still looking into that. That's going to take a while. I figure that's probably sometime next year when I'm kind of getting out of one business and trying to look at doing some other things that interest me more.
Do those other things involve a Louisville Slugger by any chance?
No, less of that. Less of that.
That's a shame.
For me, the hassle, or not the hassle, but the part that I don't really like about this job is the clients. Just want to do something on my own, see what happens. And I also wanted to, I want to get back on track on some stuff that I once believed in and kind of let other things make me drift away from it. I think they're important. And be one way to kind of finish my career and make it worth, the time I spent doing it, I guess you could say. So sharing what I know with other people and helping them get into the business and, learn how to do it right. Change some attitudes is one thing I want to do. Discourage the use of tools or understand why you should be using tools. If they don't really tell you something that you can act on, right, then it's and audits, I just believe, should be done manually. If you're using a tool to do a site audit, you're not giving them true value. That's my belief.
I kind of agree with that. At least, certainly using the tool to gather all the URLs, that makes perfect sense. To flag things like how many duplicate meta descriptions you've got, that's there's a lot of time-saving elements in it. But and you remember, Terry, back when I first started in SEO, I didn't use any tools. I refused to use tools. Of course, I was working with very small sites initially, but I wanted to do it manually so that I would learn how to do it manually, because I figured if I don't understand that, how the hell am I going to know whether my tool is telling me something worthwhile or feed me a line of crap?
Right.
And, so, I think you definitely benefit from learning how to do it manually. But, a million-page e-commerce site, you got to have to use some tools, obviously, because it just won't scale manually.
Yeah.
But if you can't at least understand what you're looking at, then you're in the wrong line of work.
Yeah.
But also there's some value in getting, so for instance, no matter how large is a website, to do some manual work helps to the day that the tool that you buy off the shelf are not able to cope with the scale. You will still have to build something, right? Which looks like what you do manually, but you build it on purpose for that job, right? And if you just use,
I would say almost everything that I did in the past, I have managed to automate using one tool or another. But I don't do any, for me, right? I don't use tools that, for instance, I wouldn't use a tool to do submissions. I would just either hire another company or do it myself. The reason being, that way I know it's done right. And now you can get it done right by services that were in the past, any service I saw in the past didn't cut it. Now I found services that do. And for me, one of the hardest things was always I find all my information in Google. So when I do outreach, I'm on Google, looking for sites and looking for topics. Now I just go to Link Prospector and got, ready-made queries already. So if I just want blogs, it only hits the blog index. If I just want places there's a whole bunch of preset type searches like blog index or just sites where you can do a submission, that sort of thing. And I found out about this tool when it was being developed, and the tool was actually a lot of the ideas for these syntax searches on Google came from the forum in SEO Dojo, where a lot of people showed them different ways that we got information. And Garrett French and Darren Shaw took that information and put it into this program. And the number one thing it does for me is it will give me all the sites that are in the cert. So before, the hardest part was getting the information from the page into a database. Now I just go there and it's in a CSV with information from laws on authority and whatnot. I wish he was using Majestic, but can plug it into Majestic too, I bet.
So you're doing this for what purpose?
Oh, for outreach. A lot of it is for outreach, or if I'm looking for competitors, that sort of thing. So one of the ways that I do my competitive search is I'll put 10 searches into Google and get the top 10 results. And then I just weight them from 1 to 10 over all of the searches. And I know which guys are working best on what keywords. So hard, or basically, head, middle, and tail keywords. And that what I'm really trying to identify is the 2 or 3 sites that are ranking across all 3, because they're the guys that are doing it right.
Go ahead.
The only tool that I've added in the since Screaming Frog came out is I just started using SEMrush. And that is, I found it really good because one of the way I do a lot of my analysis is from the SERP out. So in other words, I go to the SERP, figure out how it's constructed, basically. And the ranking reports on SEMrush includes whether you're in the local pack and what other rich snippets and all that stuff. So in other words, the extra stuff that you can get in a SERP, it tells you what keywords have those things already. So there you can, find low-hanging fruit for rich snippets and stuff like that. So again, it's gathering data for me to analyze, right? And that's the kind of tools I want.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Yeah, gather the information for you to put your brain to work on it. I'm all for that. What drives me up the wall, Terry, is when I see these guys that were doing link profile analysis, and they're taking the recommendation of the tool. Is this a toxic or a good link? That's not even lazy. That's criminally irresponsible.
Yeah. Well, when those tools came out, Doc, I reviewed every one of them.
None of them are close. No.
None of them are. Well, Dom's wasn't too bad. I forget what it's called now. It's had a couple of name changes. His wasn't too bad. The one by Kemper, I can't describe how disgusting.
Not politely, anyway.
Yeah, right. I was very disappointed in that one, to the point that, let's say I'm very surprised that he doesn't have problems ranking with Google. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's you can't let your tools do your thinking for you, but they're certainly handy as a tool to gather information and sorting and whatnot. I like to do a lot of my sorts and filters in Excel. So a tool that'll allow me to download in a CSV, that's ideal.
Yeah.
I'd much rather do that than to have the tool tell me what it thinks. I don't care what the tool thinks. Give me the damn information.
Yeah, if it can't give you Excel files, then
it's garbage.
Well, I'm interested in using. But that's it. I hear, I just think that people just aren't getting getting the right exposure at the right time to figure these things out for themselves. Because if you don't really understand these things, our job isn't really to know what's going on with the algos now. It's to know what's going on with the algos now, but to anticipate where they're going, i.e. future proofing. If you're using tools and not really paying attention to what search engines are doing, right? When I read about an algo change, right, I don't think about how I can beat it. I think about what were they trying to do and how can I do things that will line up with their thinking. Because that's one thing I've learned in 20 years, a few plus years. If you do that, you're never going to fall in value. And when everyone's complaining about losing ranking, you're going up and your clients are very happy.
The Wayne Gretzky school of thought.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Be where the ball's going to go.
Right, not where it is. That's why I don't worry about people reverse engineering what I do and not. Well, I never put all the cards on the table. I've always got another trick up my.
Also, I think it's a matter of speed as well, of execution, and how well you end up executing, right? So the website is out there; anyone can open it up and figure out what you build, why it ranks, how it works, right? If they know what they're doing, they can figure this out. The difference is that if you can build that amount of content or that product the next time in a certain way, how fast someone else will be able to do it, right? So I think it's less a matter of will they reverse engineer what I do, but it's more a matter of how fast can I build something that is really good that other people want. Because sometimes the answer is pretty much out there. It's just that some companies are terribly slow in doing it, right?
There are things you should be doing with your website that are fairly obvious anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure your sites are mobile friendly. I mean, given the amount of people joining the web who navigate it just using phones rather than desktops, that makes a lot of sense.
And I still see occasionally, I just saw one yesterday, an e-commerce site that was not responsive. They didn't have a mobile site. They didn't have a responsive site. And I can't believe that. And this was not a tiny site. I mean, they probably had several 100,000 pages that carried a pretty broad selection of products. Yet they have, if they're making any effort, they're really dragging their feet. I mean,
how many customers are they losing?
Exactly. Yeah, and maybe they're doing well. But if they are, think how much better they could be doing if they were getting that 60% of the market that's out there on mobile.
Yeah.
And it was a kind of a product that would be, I would think, would be more likely to be searched for while somebody's out in town than when they're at home on their desktop. So it was a double crime. I just don't understand.
Same thing companies that force you to, there's the beauty of the information being accessible from whatever device and whatever way you want to access it. Obviously, it doesn't mean that you need to support 50,000 browsers. But there was one company recently that if I was visiting from their newsletter, right? So they were emailing me, telling me there was a promotion on their store to buy shoes. If I was visiting the website after receiving an email ready to buy, they were putting me on a waiting list, right? I don't know why. Probably they didn't upgrade their servers, or I don't know. I was on a waiting list that was prompted to download the app, so I wouldn't have to use the waiting list. That was probably some kind of smart product manager hoping that app customer were going to be more loyal and more bringing more revenue, but at the same time, I had to quit that website, and they still didn't even see the page of the shoes, right? because this guy put me on a waiting list for about 4 or 5 minutes to access the website, probably because their strategy was to go up first, right? And sometimes you wonder, like, why, and similarly, the companies that want to access, that build an app first version of a product, but then never expand on the web, right? I understand that many people can install the app through the store. Everyone has got a mobile phone, but your content should be accessible on a browser as well. That's what eventually an app is to some degree, right? But yeah, there are a lot of strange things that it may seem is the opposite extreme of like not having a mobile website, like thinking that the only way to access this is the app, right? And I'm perfectly fine using my browser; it's doing great, but I couldn't access to the website. That was ridiculous. Yeah.
They sent you an email.
Yeah,
offering you product, and
they have a pretty aggressive email marketing. So probably the email marketing guy didn't know that there was another guy putting me on a waiting list when I was receiving his email, right?
It's good when your crew talks to each other.
Yeah. But I even contacted the customer support asking, do you think that is not like there's no problem with this thing, right? And but they didn't come back with any answer. So I hope that was and this has been going on for like probably a couple of months now, if not more. So I don't think, unless their infrastructure is completely screwed up, that they cannot upgrade to anything that can hold more user, I don't see any logic of putting people on a waiting list. It's not a product launch, right? It's an e-commerce website selling shoes. I want to buy this pair of shoes now. I'm not gonna wait. I'm not gonna wait 5 minutes. Right? No matter how exclusive your shoes are, I'm not gonna wait for a page to load.
Imagine how many sales they're losing that way.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like, and you may want to do this for like, you imagine you have like a limited edition whatever product, and you may want to play any of these things. Fair enough, right? But like, you cannot block me from visiting the entire website for like putting me on a waiting list like in 2018, right? Like, what is it, too many users on the website?
Or not even in 1998.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, not all teams in companies speak to each other sometimes.
I consulted for a company many years ago that they had seven offices around the country, and they had 3 girls working for them at corporate office who their job was to call on a particular, just pick one of their products. They'd end up on the phone with customer service or an order taker or the sales department or the tech department and ask questions, pretending to be a potential customer. And then they would find problems on their website. They would find problems in their customer service organization. They would find problem people. This girl was a real bitch to me. It was interesting. They were paying 3 people full time to do this, but they found so many issues and fixed them, while it was an issue with an employee rather than an issue with a potential customer. And their customer service organization, over a period of about 10 months I was working with them, just it turned around 100%. Became very effective. They started getting all kinds of kudos on their website. Their sales actually went up. Their closing rate through the sales department went up. They started getting more distributors. I mean, little things like that. So I can see a large e-commerce site definitely benefiting from having somebody make dummy purchases just to find bugs like what Fab is talking about. Wouldn't anybody report that as a real problem?
But I guess that is also, for instance, TransferWise, we have a quite close loop between customer support and product. There are some teams where the two are really integrated, and sometimes it's not just a matter of like fixing customer support, but it's also people like many companies. You have this attitude where you will say, here is a form to submit a problem, but no one will ever see this form, right? Or the customer support guy saying, hey, by the way, I know that there is this problem. I will submit it for you. But versus like the attitude of having product teams working with customer support, so that every problem that comes up. So I contacted this company customer support. So the product team should have known by now that there was a guy having this issue, and probably I'm not the only one, right? So I think it's also a matter of like how the organization structure is built and how people care about customers in general, which seems like obvious that you should do. But the reality is that if your product team has never spent a second reading customer support and trying to categorize what detractors reason there are for not using your store, there's a good chance that there's not much that you can fix anyway, right? Like from a customer support team, it's more of a like organization challenging. Like how do you make people who build this product caring about people that use it?
You pay them.
Yeah,
you
but
pay them a salary. You pay them
sometimes
a paycheck. You say, this is how you pay the mortgage, by making sure this company works well.
Or not.
Or
Somebody
not.
else will get paid.
Somebody else will get paid.
or maybe exactly, or maybe you remove their bonuses, right? Because like there are a lot of organizations where people get very, very juicy bonus at the end of the year, but that doesn't always equal to providing a good service to customers, right? It's like, so they end up being built in a way that there are some logics that work for the organization and people there. No matter how much you pay them, they're still doing a like average / terrible job. On the long run, this organization will die, right? But they are still out there. There are still very large corporations where there's the manager of a manager of a manager who get the bonus of the bonus of the bonus.
I remember applying for a job once where I would have been required to make 20 phone calls an hour and address certain problems, and I couldn't even imagine making half those phone calls. I just wouldn't want to do it. I couldn't do it. I didn't follow through with that job. It didn't seem something that I could get behind, support, being involved with. I felt like it was a lot of wheel spinning.
Token effort, yeah.
Yeah. You've got to give people work to do that they care about, that they feel some sense of accomplishment from. And if they're just running the website and not solving problems as they come across them, there's something broken with that company, with that website.
And that starts at the top.
Yeah.
That attitude, that's rooted up at the very top. Because the guy down at the bottom of the ladder wouldn't be acting that way if he didn't feel like it would be a condoned way to act, so many companies, brick and mortars, they have a employee suggestion box.
Yeah.
And like Fab was saying, they go from there, they never get seen. They go directly from that box into the trash because they're only putting it up there because they're expected to have one. And I think a lot of companies are the same way with their customer service department. They've got one person. Maybe they're doing $12 million a year in $20 orders, but they've only got one person handling customer service. That's just so that they can say, here's our customer service number on their website. Or they've got a chat bot, simply because they're expected to have a contact form or a chat bot or a customer service phone number. They have no intention of paying any attention to it. They're playing the averages, the numbers. Just like most companies know that if you overcharge somebody 5%, the law of averages says that the vast majority of people either don't look at the damn bill and recognize the fact they've been overcharged, or they just figure it's not enough to be upset. Maybe I won't go back to them again, but it's not worth the effort of a phone call or worth the effort of writing a nasty letter, so they just swallow it. They're playing the averages. In the long run, they're going to make out. And by the time you see the quality of the product they shipped you, you wouldn't be coming back anyway. So what do they care? That's unfortunately the way that so many businesses think. They're going to try to take advantage when they can and figure that they're going to get away with it more often than they're going to get caught.
Mm-hmm.
And rant. For now.
So we were talking about Amazon earlier. I did have the opportunity to once work in an Amazon fulfillment center. And I will say that it was probably one of the best run businesses I've ever worked in. They were on top of everything. Every aspect that they could optimize to make run well, they were doing. It was really impressive.
Probably played a big part in their success and growth. Got to be organized. I mean, the scale they operate, especially now. Imagine they could lose $1 million in a half a day on one set of products just by not being on the ball.
I think I was in the second fulfillment center, second warehouse from them, before they had all the robots. I would be scared going to one of the warehouses now with all the robots.
You get run over in a hurry.
Yeah.
That's why Jeff Bezos had himself built that massive robot that he can control, right? So he can go into fulfillment centers at some point and fight them, fight the remaining part of them, right? Like in the movies.
Is that the Lost in Space robot? No, it's Netflix. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So Amazon is building their own version of Netflix to compete with them.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
If you've watched any of the Prime series,
Well,
they've been they're redoing Lord of the Rings. They're spending $1 billion on it.
wow.
Mm-hmm. Like the funny thing, the amazing thing about Amazon is how their focus on their ability to then leverage this infrastructure that they build, or the other way around, right? So I'm not sure whether Netflix is still running on AWS primarily, but for sure it is probably some of it. But at the same time, they then use AWS for their own product, right? And that's the only way that you basically all the streaming, you own it to some degree. There's another company built on top of your infrastructure, right? But at the same time, you have a bit of both. To me, it's really fascinating because you just don't build a product, but you also build something that other companies can reuse and to build other products on top of it. So to some degree, if you're still watching films on Amazon, I'm not 100% sure right now whether Netflix is still using completely AWS, but that's probably something that I was reading back in time.
See, I know companies like Costco buy other companies and make private brands. I know Amazon's been doing some of that with things like cables, rechargers, things like that.
But that's also part of the race to the bottom price, exercise, right? The day you then own and you control price for that you can also enter that market, right? Imagine you need to sell, I don't know, these earphones are from Amazon, and once you're there, it's very easy for you to enter that space competitively, and also you have distribution as well, right? So
it may not be a race to the bottom based on price. They may also be trying to build better products.
yeah, no. But initially, not maybe price, but the more coverage, right? So when all the items in that category are listed in that space, then it's very easy for them to, they know what price looks like, right? They know what feature look like in that space. What is are the features that when you buy a USB cable, even though it's a very simple purchase, people are looking for, right? And then you can produce this. And there was a list the other day of all those brands that are actually Amazon, and there's quite a lot. I think they've been entering in a lot of spaces.
Well, there's an awful lot of advantage to be had. If you're in a market niche that has 10 people competing in it, and you buy one of those competitors, now you're two competitors. It's not necessarily just market share. It gives you a lot more leverage in terms of controlling price, availability, building credibility, branding, individually. It gives you an awful lot of leverage that you won't get as a sole player, even as the largest player in that niche.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you walk into a supermarket here in the States, you walk into a supermarket and you go down to the canned vegetables. Okay. You're going to see Del Monte. You're going to see 3 or 4 known brands, and you're going to see a house brand. Okay. Look at the label. That house brand was canned by Del Monte. Okay. And it's significantly cheaper than the Del Monte can. Probably came out of, it's maybe not the same vat, but basically the same recipe, the same quality, but it's sold to the Safeway or Ralph's a lot cheaper, and then it's sold to the consumer a lot cheaper. It's not just because Ralph's or Safeway wants to get their name out there. It gives them more control over the pricing. It allows them to somewhat manipulate their competitors' pricing, because now if they can offer 3 cents less on the Del Monte brand and 6 cents less on their house brand, that's going to affect the competitor across the street who's carrying a different brand. So it gives them a lot of leverage. And the same is true online. So if I see Amazon going out and buying other brands and keeping a different brand name on it, not letting it be readily apparent that they're Amazon owned, it makes sense. It's not always a quality. Sometimes the quality is going to be identical. Mm-hmm. From an accounting standpoint, it just, from the fiduciary side of it, it really gives them an awful lot of teeth.
And Amazon is now a marketplace. If you're not only a market member, but also in charge of the marketplace, you have some advantages too.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they're kind of like Walmart, where they can go, even if they were manufacturing it themselves, they can go and say, look, we're going to sell this amount. We want this price for the raw goods. They're going to get a lower price.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever come across people in the Walmart who aren't Walmart employees, but are stocking shelves and doing marketing?
Mm-hmm.
So there are those people in there.
Oh, yeah.
Walmart is a marketplace as well. It's not all just Walmart.
Yeah, well, some of those grocery stores and stuff, you pay for the shelf space. How much you get, you pay them for that.
Yeah.
So gain. When you're someone like them, you kind of control some of the market to a large extent when you figure how many people shop there, and they're not dumb. They're doing the same thing online. They know they can scale, and they know they can deliver. They're looking at Amazon now as a competitor. I bet you they didn't 5 years ago.
Yeah, they wouldn't even think that they could compete with Amazon then.
Yeah, you know why? because all the brick and mortars are realizing people don't want to go to stores anymore. Like malls aren't a destination as much as they were in the 60s and 70s. It's just the way things have changed, and that's going to continue to evolve. Like I see what we think of as all those big skyscraper office buildings, they're
going away.
those kind of conventional offices are going to go the wayside too. You're seeing more and more where big business is even taking up the co-working models. Like it's pretty interesting when you look at it from a business standpoint, for them to be able to pay a membership and have one of their employees just go to a place. They got a desk, they got everything they need to work, and they don't have to pay for the real estate or any of the other nonsense. And it's a fixed cost.
Well, it makes good common business sense. Yeah.
Businesses are realizing that big time. Like if I was a REIT right now, I'd be sweating. Just if I was an office REIT right now, I would be sweating the way malls are because of the internet, because the business is changing and most of them won't realize it until it's too late.
I have a nearby shopping mall. It's one of the few indoor malls. Most of the malls in Southern California are outdoor strip malls, but
Right.
This one is an indoor mall, and it's mostly empty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is the spring, summer, whatever. If this was December, they would have to be really worried.
But like for funny joke from my friends in Italy, like, so where I'm from in Italy during the winter is cold, and people used to say that people that don't want to eat their own house, they spend the day at the shopping mall because it's warm, right? And that's pretty much what the function is sometimes, right? You find all these people that otherwise they're either retired or, like, I don't know, they have nothing to do that day, but rather than eating home, they go to the shopping mall, have a chat with their friends, and they don't have to pay.
It's climate controlled, it's air conditioned, or it's heated.
Exactly, or the opposite, right? Because it's cold in the winter and it's hot in the summer. Yeah, exactly.
There's
Kids these days, they like when I was young, I went outside and played, and now they sit in the house. They you don't see the kids out playing sports and stuff. Like, I got finished school and played hockey till I went to bed. Yeah, no shit.
Uh-huh.
I was in a small town. It wasn't like there was, much to do.
There are esports these days. You go to those arena full of kids cheering for each other. There's this guy walking into the stage looking like he's I don't know, like the biggest celebrity in the world. I know, like, it's different. They're not very healthy as sports, unfortunately. Some of them. I used to play video game myself, and it's not the kind of healthy exercise that you do. But yeah.
I think people use malls here because they don't want to walk around outside in the snow and the ice and all the rest of it.
I think that's possible, yeah.
There's a really large indoor mall right down on the corner from where I used to live in Dallas called the Galleria. And it's 3 or 4 stories tall inside. It's totally inside. They had hundreds and hundreds of shops and stores in there. And, when I was living in Dallas, that was in the early 80s. And to walk in there, I mean, you could spend 20 seconds just trying to get to one of the doors to get inside because of such a throng of people. There were thousands and thousands of people walking around in there. And I saw one of these flash mob things that somebody put up on YouTube here from like March of last year. And it looked like every other storefront in there was space available sign. It was closed up with a space A sign in the window. I mean, somebody invested a couple $2 billion in building that place and probably got rich over time and has got to be ready to eat a bullet now rather than know what the end of the year is going to look like, because the place looks like it's pushing 30-40% vacant. So yeah, brick and mortar shopping is not as convenient. You'll spend an hour in to and fro transit and fight the crowds and the stress that goes with it, and it's cold, it's uncomfortable, you might miss a phone call, all these inconveniences with actually going to a store, when you can just, while you're waiting for the tea kettle to get hot, you sit down at your desktop and you take a look and see if what you're looking for is available. The other thing that has a big impact is impulse buying goes down a lot with online shopping. You go to a website to see if they've got a pair of shoes to fit that new dress you bought, then you're going to go look at the shoes. Yeah, you might pick up some stockings while you're there, but you're probably not going to wander through the whole damn store and consider buying a lot of different items.
Places like Amazon, which have the people who purchase this also bought this or bought that. They're trying to appeal to that audience.
Sure, that's the same kind of thing as those miscellaneous items you see while you're in line at the supermarket, from magazines and candy and kids' toys. They're looking for impulse purchases.
Right.
They're trying, and they're significant. Impulse purchases are a significant portion of the sales for any brick and mortar. Well, I shouldn't say any brick and mortar, but for open commerce places like supermarkets and dime stores and drug stores, they're a big piece of their business. And they're typically the things that have some of the largest profit margin too. They're cheap items. They're often sub-dollar, but they've got percentage-wise, they've got a better profit margin than a lot of stuff in there on the shelf. Mm-hmm. And they're just trying to capture that, and those also looked at or related items. They're capturing, I'm sure, some of that. I look at a lot of those things when I go online to look for an item. And that's why I spotted things I liked and ordered them.
Yeah, I put upsell items in that related items as well.
But that's why I think on this front, bigger player have got a more advantage, right? So Amazon has got a 9 team working on related and suggestion and that stuff. Like a small e-commerce won't have the same, first of all, like set of data to be able to use, like to recommend that well. But at the same time, they won't be able to upsell also because of coverage, right? Like in the same way that you do on other store. You buy one item, at least in my experience, right? I buy one item from the small shop versus like when you're on those larger side, you end up maybe bundling in case you have a delivery coming. You say, oh, let's also add this, right? And
yeah, we didn't use a program to do that. We looked at each product and did it that way. I'm not real believer in algorithm stuff for that kind of thing.
Yeah, but how many products, right?
If I know you're buying one kind of guitar, but you maybe have bought something else before, and I can sell you a more expensive guitar by selling it properly, I'm going to do that, not show you a cheaper guitar that someone else bought. That's what I mean. Those you can use algorithms, but I'd rather use my knowledge and the client's knowledge of their products than.
I saw a plugin for WooCommerce not too long ago. For instance, using your guitar example, that would actually look and see if this user has purchased or just ordered this guitar, then they'll show you a set of strings, they'll show you guitar picks, they'll show you an on-neck tuner, but they won't show you another guitar because they're bright enough to realize the poor guy just bought a guitar. The last thing he wants to see is an ad for another guitar, okay?
Yeah, but the thing there is, Doc, lots of guitar players have 5, 6, 7 guitars.
Sure.
So they're crazy about those, so that's But you may want to try and sell them a more expensive model or something like that.
Well, if I was selling to Dwayne Forrester, I would damn sure try to offer him another guitar because that guy's a sucker for a guitar. But
I guess it's just a matter of scalability, right? How up to how many items can you do it in that way, and also the more item you have, the more whatever plugin or recommendation system get probably better, right? I didn't use any of these plugins.
I did it before there were plugins. This was out of the custom program.
Yeah, no, I get it. Like I'm very against using any plugin, honestly, because every time you use,
I have no experience doing it that way. I know that OpenCart does something like that right out of the box. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I may have to call the time again.
I got to bail myself because I've got a meeting in about 4 minutes. So everybody have a great day.
You do the same?
Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
Later.
All right.
Yeah.
I know.